Okay, so I have installed Android Studio. Okay, so for me, the version number, I don't remember the version number, so let us check the version number. Okay, so it's up to you if you have downloaded and installed Android Studio 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, whatever version, because now the Android Studio versions are Dolphin, Arctic, Bumblebee. So Bumblebee is the latest version. So whichever version you have downloaded, that's fine. Only the layout or those things will be a bit different. Okay, so this is Android Studio version 4.1.3 that I have installed. So if you have installed any other version, that is fine. Only the layout will be different. Okay, so before we go into the basics, okay, so a few things that needs to be done is you can check the configure. Okay, so Bayan, are you having the same Android Studio? Which version you are using? Bayan, which version you are using? Android Studio version? Okay, so a few things before we start the session. So first thing is which SDK we are using. Okay, so for me, I'm using Android API 32. So please remember whichever API you are using. Okay, so that has properly installed on the system. Depending upon different version, you have the API level. So I'm using API 32. So if you are using any other API, that's also fine. Then AVD manager. Okay, so these are the virtual devices. Okay, so I have already created two virtual devices. Okay, so first one is Pixel 2 API 28 and Pixel 4 API 28. So in order to run it through your emulator, you can use this. If you want, you can create new virtual device, and depending upon your requirement, you can select the appropriate device for emulator. Okay, so that is I have already created. So the first thing is what we are going to be doing is we are going to create a new project. Okay, okay, no problem, Bayan. If you don't know but the layout will be different if you're using Bumblebee or Dolphin or the newer version. Older version will have the similar layout. Okay, so what I have done, I have just clicked created a new project. Inside the project, I am using empty activity. Okay, so it's up to you. You have predefined activities like basic activity, bottom navigation activity, and so on. So this is our first session. So we are going to be using as a empty activity. So once you have selected the empty activity, you are going to click on next button, and here you will have different settings that you have to do. Okay, so yes, you might be using Bumblebee or the latest version. Okay, so that's fine. You might be having some different layout, but things will work accordingly. I think the Bumblebee layout is a bit darker than the ones that have white background or theme, which you can, I think, change in Bumblebee. Anyways, so we are going to create a new project. Okay, so I'm just going to change the name, sample login. Okay, so here in language, by default, if you are using it for the first time, it will be selected as Kotlin. Okay, so Kotlin is the Google language that supports with the Android Studio. Okay, so but for us, we are not going to use Kotlin. We are going to be using Java. Then you can select the API level, like API level 17 will be representing Jelly Bean 4.0. So here you will able to see that your app will run on approximately 99.8% of the devices. Okay, so I have chosen this Jelly Bean. So depending upon which API. So please remember the API level you have installed in your Android Studio, on top of it the virtual device that you are using, and the project configuration that you are using. So I'm just using the default values. Only thing is we have to check is the language should be Java and name should be sample login. So then you are going to just click on finish. So it takes time to set up the project, all the files. Okay, so over here we have two files, main activity.java and activity underscore mail.xml. So these are the two files that we will be working. So sometimes the Gradle build will take time uh, when it will be loaded. So the XML will not be visible to us. So here we will be doing some coding using Java, and this is where we are going to be designing our application. So these are the two files when we are creating any project, .java and the XML file. Okay, so these are the files that we normally work on. Okay, so if you are not configured your AVD or SDK, you can still do that from tools, and over here you have SDK manager and AVD manager. Okay, so here also you can do these things. Okay, so if you click on main activity dot Java, you have the Java code for your program, and XML you have the design view where you can design the application. So in that you will have a palette where you have different widgets available to you, or you can say components like text, button, or containers, and so on. So you have the legacy one as well. Okay, so this is the design. Okay, so this is Hello World. So this is the basic program that are there. So I'm just going to click on Hello World. Okay, and then you will able to see the different attributes associated with it, this text view. Okay, so I'm just going to ignore these because I will be creating, because as we discussed that we will be creating a login screen with having username, password, and we will be having a login button. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete this one. First, I'm going to click and I'm going to delete this. So that means I will be having an empty activity. So when we talk about this, uh, this screen, that is called the activity that will be appearing on the mobile phone. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to create a username text field. Okay, so in order to do that, so in text we have plain text. Okay, so we can drag and drop over here on the screen. So over here you will able to see the view. Okay, so how it will be viewing on the screen. So you can drag and drop on the design. Then over here we have the attributes like ID. Okay, so for ID I need user text. Okay, or you can use any other. So user text I want. So because I'm changing the ID, so it will rename ID resources and it usages to. So I'm just going to refactor. Okay, so I'm going to come down and see the other attributes. Okay, so by default the text, I don't need any information over here. Okay, so inside here, for example, this is user name. Okay, so now if you look over here, that this username becomes dim because I put it in the hint section over here. If I'm going to use this username in the text, it will become dark. Okay, so it will be displayed by default and you have to remove the text and then you have to type the text over here. Excuse me. So this is basic thing that I have done. I have created a text, plain text, having the ID of user text. In the hint, I have used username. The other thing that I have to do is I have to use the layout or the constraint widget. This will fix the location of the object that we have drawn over here. So what you can do is you can just click on plus and you will able to get the fixing of the object. Okay, now if you have configured the virtual emulator or virtual device. Okay, so for example, I have created this. So the only reason I have created two virtual devices is because sometimes if one is not working properly, so the other will work. Okay, so let us check this one. Emulator. Okay, it is already running. Some, okay, I have clicked too many times. So we'll check this one. Because the emulator sometimes create problems. So let me check if the emulator is working properly or not. Okay, so by that time what we can do is we can see the options over here. So over here you can run or you can compile your application. Then we have another option if you are running your application on the emulator. So you can use this option, apply changes and restart the activity. Okay, so once the emulator will be connected, then we can only do this thing or do this part. So our emulator is so let us check first. Okay, so what we do is we'll change the API and then we'll start and see how it looks. If everything works well, so emulator should be easily giving us the view of this. Okay, so there is could not automatically detect ADB binaries. Some emulator functionality will not work until a custom path to ADB is not added. This can be done to extended control settings. Why it is like that? Okay, so let us see if we are just going to duplicate and see if it works. That is the reason that I have created many virtual devices because these virtual devices creates issues. Okay, so I have already started this Pixel 2 API 28. Okay, so this phone or this thing is starting. Okay, so let us because I am getting the error because that time it was not installed, so that's why. So so because I'm not able to get the username visible on the screen. Okay, so let us see what is the issue. So let us add more text so that we can fix those issues as well. Okay, so for this one we can create, for example, 32. Okay, we'll create another one. So this one we can put the name edit password. So text, I don't need the text. Okay, so hint I have done. Okay, so the other thing, same configuration, I'm not doing anything new over here. I'm just checking why it is not visible. So here in the run section, you can apply changes and restart the activity. So if everything goes fine, we can able to see that. Okay, so I have to restart it. Okay, so run app. Okay, so now username is visible, but the password is not visible because of the alignment and settings. So we'll see over here. Okay, and see the apply changes, because once you are doing any work, your emulator configuration should be correct in order to. Okay, so now oh, where's gone? Okay, so we'll run the activity to see again. So now password is showing to us. Okay, so we have username and we have password. So now we are going to add the button. So for buttons, we have this button, and we are going to add this button over here. Okay, so the button. Okay, so we don't need the changing of ID. For button text, we can put it as login. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to create a login activity with having username and password. So on click on login, we will be adding a new activity or a new page. And if the password is wrong, we are going to capture it and we are going to display a text message that your user ID and password is incorrect. Okay. But in order to do that, we have to do some coding. So first, we are going to use this username and password and the login, and then we are going to add rest of the components on the system. Okay, so if you want, you can do the changing of the layout from the code section, where if you want, you can change the top left margins and other options. So if we are having anything that you want to change, you can use it as the code section that is available on the top right corner. So you can use these options in order to do your work as well. Okay, so now what we are going to be doing, we have created three things. Okay, so now I'm going to come and in the main activity Java. So first thing is I will be capturing those username, password and button information, and I will be creating a function where I will be checking that username should be equal to some admin, or username should be equal to user password should be equal to something value. And then I will be, if the password and the username is correct, we will be taking him to another page, and if it is false, it will remain on the login page. So in order to do that, I will be requiring some uh, information to capture. So for that, I will be using these variables. Okay, so for that, I will be doing private. For that, I need edit text, and that is for user name. Okay, so I got that is for the username field. I am creating a variable so to capture all the information in the username. Then I'm going to use the same thing, edit text, for user password. Similarly, I will be doing it same for the button, but over here now this time, instead of edit text, I will be using button, and that is for login. So if you go on any of the, if you put your cursor on any of the line, you will able to see this bulb icon, and it will give you some suggestions that you can create a constructor parameters or something like that. If everything is fine, you will see different suggestions as well, errors and so on. So from here you can able to understand that something is correct or not. So what I have done, I have created an edit text for username and password, and I have created a button. Okay, so now what I will be doing, I will be making okay, I will be making a function that will be private void verification. Okay, so in verification, what I will be doing, I will be taking a string, that is our username, and I will be taking a string user password. So this is my function. So I will be having a verification function. Okay, so I'll just make, so it will be taking as username and password, and then I will be checking if the username and password are correct or not. So I need a condition for that, like for example, if, okay, so if username, okay, so one more thing over here is to understand. So in programming, we have different operators like is equal to. If we are matching it for is equal to, so we use double equal to sign. And when we are using it for string, we have in Android Studio, we have different methods. Okay, so over here, like for example, username is equal to, okay, so this is, I'm just showing you that username should be matched with admin. But the problem over here, it is because it is an string one. So we cannot use double equal to in order to check this thing. So for that, we have another function over here that we can use, that is equal. Okay, so we can use equals, and here we can check that it should be equal to admin. Okay, so this thing. So we also need to check that. Okay, so one more thing I have to do, because I have to check it with, username, and we have to use it with user password. So I can use ABC. Okay, so at the end we are able to see that statement expected. So whatever thing is there. Okay, so now it's fine. So what I'm doing is I'm just checking if this thing is equal to admin or password is equal to ABC, then we can have some work to do. But in order to do that, we have to capture it. We have assigned the values, but we have to capture it. So in order to do that, what we can do is inside the main function, we have to assign or we have to capture that value. For example, if we have username, okay, so we are going to do edit text, okay, find view by ID, and this is the resource ID, and that is, so here we are going to give the same ID of the text box that we have created for login. For username, I have given user text. So you have to use the same ID. Okay, so now same I will be doing it for password, sorry, user password. Okay, so we have edit text, find by view, find view by ID, r.id, and here for password I have given edit password. Same thing goes with the button. So for that we have login. Instead of edit text, it will be button, find view by id r dot id dot, and for button I have used the same name as button. Okay, so I have captured this information. Okay, and I have created the function verification. But what if everything goes correct? So what will happen? So I have to send it to another activity, and to do that what I will be doing, I have to create, for that we use intent. So I is equal to new intent. So over here I'm going to use main activity. So this is the main activity, means current activity dot this, and what we can do, we can go to second page dot class. This we can do. Okay, that from the main activity we can go to second page, and from there we can start the activity. Okay, so now it is not showing. Okay, so what we can do is we can create a second page. Now you can see it is in red, and over here you will see different underscore line as red. So that means you have some error or some issue. Okay, so what we can do is we can create a new activity. So we are just going to right click on the underneath the java.com example.sample login. We are just going to create, right click on it. Okay, so we are going to, where it is, new. I'm looking down, it was on top, so new, and we are going to create a new activity. Okay, so you can use empty activity. So new activity, and it should be an empty activity. Okay, so I have given it as second page over here. So same thing you can do. So activity name, second page. Rest of the fields are generic, so we are not going to change those fields, and we are going to create this page as second activity. So as soon as you do that, you will able to see that we have a Java page, and then we have an XML page appearing in front of us. Okay, and in the main activity, if you go there, now you can see the second page is now ready. It's become black from the red, so that means every linking is being done properly. So once, if the username and password is correct, we can start the activity. uh, I'm not sure why it's giving me error. but this start activity should work. This shouldn't be okay, so we'll create this thing and we'll see later on. Okay, so now we come to the second page. So same second page. So we can do one thing is we can have a text, plain text. Okay, so this will only display that this is a welcome activity. So here what I can say over here, so text I will remove. In hint, I'm going to use welcome, or you can use any name that you want to. Okay, so you can ignore these errors that are available over here if you are going to look into it over here. So constraint layout, okay, constraint layout, we haven't fixed it. I forgot that. Please do that every time when you do making it. Okay, so I have fixed the constraints. Now we'll come here. Okay, so now let's see. I will run this app and see if it works or not. Okay, so you can see the login button is coming over here. It is not properly managed. Okay, so we'll see if this admin password should be ABC, and if we click on login button, nothing is happening. Okay, uh, why this thing is uh, okay. Okay, so this is no. Okay. Start activity, this one. I was using capital, so that's why it was giving error. So start activity. Let us see if we run this by applying the changes. So it should work. Okay, so no, this my okay, so let us check and we will align this later. Admin. Okay, so we have to debug later on. Code is correct. So we'll do that inspection later on. So we'll start working on the other things. So second page is fine. Okay, so we'll come over here now. Okay, so what we are going to be doing is, I remember why it's not working, because see, when we talk about different functions, so when we click on this button, so that means we have to capture this information by on click listener, and then only it will work properly. So that we haven't created, so we have to create this listener. Okay, so in order to do that, we'll come to the code. So login button. So here we are going to create a listener for this login. So login is equal to set on click. Why it's not there? Okay, login. Okay, sorry. It should be login dot set on click listener. We have to create that one. So it should be new view on click listener. So that is, I have created this login set on click listener. So that means whenever it will be clicking on it, and then we have to provide our verification function. Okay, so over here what we are going to be doing, we are going to call our verification function. Okay, so user name dot get text, so whatever there in the username, because we need to convert it to a string, as we are passing a string to the function. Similarly, same thing I will be doing it for user password dot get text dot to string. So this is, I have created this. So let's see if we are going to run this and see if it works. Okay, so let's see, admin abc. Okay, so now it is working. So this is going to second page, but I cannot able to see this. So let us say this absolute value to 32. Okay, because I cannot apply the changes because my virtual machine is not working properly, so I have to wait for that. But if your system is working fine, so you can use that option. That is a great option. So by the time it is running for this login button, we haven't set the absolute value. That's why it is giving us this error. Not error, but it is showing us on different location. So okay, so let us see this again. Admin ABC. Now it is coming. Okay, so this task is done. So we have created username, password, and login. So login is taking us to another page. Now we need some other things. Okay, so we'll go to text. Okay, so we'll need a text view. So this is okay. So in this one we can change the okay. So we can change it to width should be, for example, 200. So you can use it over here to adjust the height and width of this text view. Okay, so I'm not changing the ID for this text view. Okay, so I'm just going to okay, so this is the text view. I have changed some variables. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be putting as okay, so let's see if this text view is viewable to us or not. Okay, just give me 1 minute. Hello? Hello? Yeah, speaking. Yeah, yeah, Mario. Actually, I'm on in Pakistan for visa process. Okay, so when I come back, then I will take it. Okay, I'm teaching this module, but the module leader is Dr. Mazhar. Okay, I'll ask Dr. Mazhar. Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. Bye bye. Okay, so let us check. that text view is visible to us or not. Okay, so text view is visible to us, and now what we are going to be doing is we are going to be so in order to do that, to populate this text view. Okay, so what we are going to be doing is we are going to create the same procedure that we have done there previously, private. Okay, so text view, and we are going to create a preview. So this thing, we are creating a preview. Then over here where we have created the edit text, so here we are going to create preview is equal to, it will be text view find view by id r dot id oh, oh, r dot id dot. Okay, so the name I use the default one, that is text view, that is text, text view. So I have created same thing that I have done previously. I have created the uh, preview, and then I have done this for preview. Okay, so now what we can do, we can go to our verification. Okay, so here what we can do to check the preview dot set text, and that is we can create or give the username. So we are going to run the app and see if it works. So test, test. Okay, so this is not working. Okay, so this test is working. So test and test, that means something wrong with our verification function. So we'll see that one. Okay, we'll see that one later. First we finish this thing. Okay. Okay, so we have done this thing. Now we can check. Okay, so this thing is also working. Okay, so we can use else over here. If it's available, then we have else. So we can have preview preview dot set text. Okay, so we can invalid username / password. Okay, okay, So we are doing this so we can add some counter so we can able to check. If we don't put this, still working, login is still working. Anyways, we'll check this one. So that means this is working and it is not checking the if condition. Okay, we'll find this thing out later. Okay, so we can add a counter. So we can add a counter as well. Okay, so private integer counter is equal to 3. So we can have 3 times we can check the counter. Okay, so in else, so counter should be minus minus, sorry, counter minus minus. Here we can use attempts and we can add a string dot value of counter. Okay, so this one is done. Okay, why this else without if? It is there if. So this is if. I made a mistake. This one. That's why it was not working. See, small terminator can create so much issue and problems. Anyways, so I have created this thing. Else is done. And let's see by running our application if it works. Okay, so we'll see test, and test is working. Okay, so see, now this thing is working. Okay, so it is going to minus. We can fix that one. Let us check admin, and it is working as ABC. It is now working. The only problem that we are facing up till now is because of the counter. Okay, so here we can add one condition. So if counter is equal to 0, then we can have login dot set enabled here. So it takes boolean values, so we can use false. And now I think that login button was also fine. Yes. Okay, so this one we can run the app now. Okay, so we'll see with admin test. Okay, so login. Okay, so after 0 it will become disable. So this is done. So this is what we have to do for today's session. Okay, so because of this emulator, we have to be careful. Yes, if you have any questions,